There was something in the paper today about the polls and the early voting.
Yeah, apparently one of my opponents, I'm not going to mention his name, I ran against the last time.
Ted Holmes, I'll mention it.
Okay, there you go. He alleges that in the 2006 primary that he was ahead of me. He was #1 ahead of me in the early primary voting when the voting was being calculated and tabulated until the early votes came in. Then all of a sudden I shoot way ahead of him in the in the primary. What Mr. Ted Holmes forgets to do is all the time is I think sometimes people just get delusional with the statistic or what would happen. Mr. Ted Holmes, the count, I checked on it. The clerk mailed out 525 early absentee votes in the primary for 2006. Out of those numbers, 427 early votes came back. Okay, I received over 3,200 votes that the people entrusted me with their vote. 3,200 people entrusted me with their vote in the early primary in 2006. Wade, 1,600, and Ted Holmes, 1,200. So even if you take away those 427 votes, early votes that he alleges that shot me ahead of him, you take those votes away, it was over 2,500 votes were left. I still beat Ted Holmes' numbers by 1,300. So that story he put in there and his accusation that the early votes were tainted, and that's the opinion or the impression he's trying to give, is completely wrong. Completely wrong. Mr. Ted Holmes, again, is in error, as I read about some of the things he points out, is in error with the figures and error a lot of things, like one of my other opponents are. They're just in error. They don't know the facts. They don't report the facts. They report conspiracies. When you lose the election, what's the first thing you're going to say? And I like the flagman. The flagman alleges that 25,000 people said they're going to vote for him in 2006 primary. There's not 26,000 people, 25,000 people registered to vote in that county in 2006. So the first thing you're going to do is the votes are tainted. Let me tell you something. San Marino runs a great office, runs a legitimate, ethical office. Even the Secretary of State has oversight, has no complaints about the way that San Marino runs that office. It's a difficult job because the first thing is going to be election time. It's a very difficult time. The first thing you're going to have if someone loses is going to allege some kind of conspiracies. Votes weren't counted right. Someone's tabulating. Someone's and it's not true. Really not true. The FBI was involved in the investigation in the 2002 election. They didn't find any type of tampering with the votes. And the same thing, I mean, the FBI was overseeing the 2006 election. I mean, because when federal offices are up, the federal government does do oversight of that. So, like I'm saying, is that's an allegation. But for him to state, I mean, for Ted Holmes to state that he was ahead of me until the early votes came in, delusional, because only 427 votes were returned out of 525 that were sent out. And even if you take away those 427, and not everybody's going to vote for me early voting, absentee voting. They're going to vote's going to be around. But you take those figures out, I still beat them by 1,300 based upon the people entrusted me with their vote. And that's what it is. I don't own those votes. Those people trusted me with those votes.
Exactly. Let me ask you one other thing. And Scott Coble and you tonight here at the event, got a little friction there. I need to ask you. Nevada Highway Patrol and Nye County Sheriff seems to have been working together so much closer in the last few years, and really working, very well together. Tonight, a comment was made that kind of a shot that we don't have a traffic unit here in Perm.
Yeah, we do have a traffic. Every deputy writes tickets. He wants to work a special traffic unit and I understand. I did work that. And what happens is, when you have a special traffic unit, then the other people delegate their traffic stops and motor vehicle violations to the traffic unit. You know what? Everyone out here is a traffic unit. And that accidents have gone down. Let me explain. We work very well with Highway Patrol. My nephew, who's been on a job only 4 years, is a sergeant with NHP in Las Vegas. And he elevated himself. Scott Coble is not a supervisor, never supervised, and that's his resume. But for him to make the allegation that we need a traffic unit, when you have a traffic unit, you're taking those people out. We had a traffic unit. I looked at the numbers. It did not reduce accidents. When I dismantled the traffic unit, I made the responsibility of every deputy to go out there and write citations and put them out there in special patrols to write citations, saturation patrol. The numbers of accidents went down not up, like he alleges. And the fact of the matter is that it's everybody's responsibility to do that. And that's what you have to understand, is that we don't need a traffic unit to do that. I looked at it. I used to work traffic, and I'm telling you right now, is you have a traffic unit, the first thing the deputy's going to say, well, yeah, traffic units take care. That's their job. No, your job is to write tickets. Your job is to make the safe community. Your job is to stop cars. If they deserve a citation, you write them. But the deputies still have the ability to use discretion on that. The deputies make that discretionary move to write ticket on. But that traffic unit is a waste of manpower, because now you're taking deputies that should be responding to calls for service and you're allocating them to do some specialized detail.
And the number of fatalities usually are on the highways. Most of our fatalities that we have in this town are on the highways, which are actually manned by Nevada Highway Patrol.
That's correct. And, we work very closely with them. We see a traffic violation on 160, 372, we stop vehicles and we make sure that those roads are safe. And that's our responsibility to do that. Our responsibility is community policing. That's a part of community policing. And we've been successful with that. We could be more successful. And we need more manpower to do that. And, hopefully we'll be getting that soon. And like I said, our actions, when we look at the actions, they went down by really good numbers. Actually, but like I'll say, one accident is one too many, in my opinion.